Fantastic. Okay, so we've got everybody here tonight. Let me tell you about our contenders, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight for this Alentejo versus Northern Portugal versus Tagus Valley. And I will do this in the alphabetical order of the regions, not of the men. Neil Perkins, representing the Alentejo tonight. Married to Rita, who is Portuguese, who was born in the Alentejo, currently living in Alvito, the pair of them, however, are building a home in Alentejo. And he'll pronounce that correctly in just a moment, in the Évora district in the Alto Alentejo. We'll find out more about that, of course, soon. First came to Portugal in 2006, built a home in Tomar in 2007. So interestingly, has moved from central Portugal to Alentejo, retired in 2017, moved to Portugal in 2019, sold the house in Tomar and moved to Alvito whilst traveling around Portugal, looking for the place to build their next home, which they've now decided upon the location and design. And it sounds like it's coming along beautifully. That is Mr. Neil Perkins tonight, representing the Alentejo. Going to Northern Portugal, Mark Rigby describes himself, he's got a lovely phrase for this, a GOL, a gentleman of leisure, took early retirement from the civil service in 2016, permanently moving to Póvoa de Varzim up in the north of Portugal in 2020. So just November of last year, took the ferry from Portsmouth, where he'd lived for 20 years, to Santander, driving through Spain to Northern Portugal. Although I had my NIF number and a rental contract, you need those, folks. I did not have my residencia at the time, or at that point in time, so feel extremely fortunate in having made the trip during the narrow window before the rules changed. Póvoa de Varzim, so you know, where Mark lives, is around 30 kilometers north of Porto, 35 minutes on the metro to Porto. That's a smart move. He lives in a beautiful part of Northern Portugal, and you can get to Porto on the metro from this place. Relocating, he says, is the best decision he's made in many years, has a passion for music and biblical revelation, and is looking forward to being that gentleman of leisure, the hashtag GOL. Finally tonight, representing Tagus Valley, Michael Heron, a British Argentine hybrid expat. He was born in the UK and has lived in Portugal for 7 years. During this time, Michael has lived in different parts of Lisbon, Aroeira, great place. That's where I met him, in fact, on the south bank over the Tejo River, and currently resides in São Domingos de Rana, which is halfway between Cascais and Lisbon. Very interesting part of Portugal, and one that many people are interested in. So halfway between Cascais and Lisbon, very close to Carcavelos Beach. Michael is the founder of Avonlight, a boutique consultancy business, provides business development, marketing and communication services. Been working increasingly with international companies and individuals looking to relocate and expand their operations to Portugal. So that's who Michael normally works with. Let's go then to the Alentejo and Mr. Neil Perkins with your 3 minutes, please, Neil, on why you love the Alentejo so much.
Okay, controversially, I'm not going to say that the Alentejo is the best place in Portugal. That's a matter of opinion. However, in the last 20 months, we have driven over 40,000 kilometers exploring this amazing country called Portugal. It really has something for everybody, from the mountains and skiing and Cedar Trail in the north to the golden sandy beaches and the warm waters of the Algarve in the south. The lakes, the rivers, fortifications and the vineyards that take us east to Spain, and finally to the west coast, the furthest point west of mainland Europe, with capital cities old and new, and the stunning dramatic Atlantic coast. However, in all of those 40,000 kilometers that we traveled, and of all of the places that we have lived, stayed in and visited, nowhere welcomes me back like the utterly beautiful open drifting plains of the Alentejo. Whenever we're driving home and the landscape starts to flatten out, suburbia is left behind and the cork and olive trees start to dominate the landscape, with the towns atop the distant hills built to defend the country from our old enemies of the past. The farms and the vineyards are aplenty, and some of the roads are the straightest and longest in the country, just disappearing into the distance in the shimmering summer heat haze. You drive past the lakes and the watering holes of the cattle and the sheep, and if you're lucky, you'll spot a family of black pigs, synonymous with the region, turning the ground with their snouts to find the acorns that they depend on as part of their mainstay diet, which gives them that unique flavour when cooked and eaten. Then you start to spot the penthouse apartments, balanced expertly on top of the telegraph poles and electricity pylons, with the heads of the stork chicks peeking out in wonder at the spectacular vistas that surround them. Their black and white parents are circling on the thermals above them. Then I know I'm home. I first fell in love with the Alentejo in the summer months, the sun-scorched rolling plains with golden brown grasses waving in the summer breeze, which reminded me of those African plains you see on TV when after living here for 2 years, I've experienced the transition of all 4 seasons. After summer in early September, we start to see the first rains of autumn. Just a shower or two, and it's time to get the grapes picked. The vineyards are a hive of activity as the vines start to turn from green to yellow, orange, and then to burgundy. By October, you just start to see the glimpse of the odd green strand coming through the golden tundra. And by December, the rolling plains have turned into emerald green, rolling meadows of lush grass. And as the rains of winter come, January sees the most amazing rich mixture of every shade of green possible, with the rolling meadows stretching into the distance, with the evergreen cork and olive trees blending in with their contrasting evergreen shades. February brings alive the first hint of white in the meadows, and before you know it, you could swear it's been snowing in the Alentejo, as swathes of billions of small white flowers cover the meadows. By March, the yellow flowers have mixed with the white, and by April, the fields of yellow lupins can be spotted as far as the eye can see. Then the blues appear, and the reds and the purples. You feel like you are driving through the colour mix palette of some famous painter.
Neil, what a cracking start. Very good. Beautiful, beautiful.
Wow. The bar's been set high.
Yes, portrait there of the Alentejo.
Poetry.
Superb poetry. Yes, my goodness. Very good. We'll come to you in just a moment, Michael, but it's we'll go to the north. Michael Heron, if I was a boxing commentator, looking a little shaken by that first punch there. So let's go to the north of Portugal. Please, your 3 minutes, Mark Rigby.
The northern Portugal is bounded on the north and the east by Spain, on the west by the majestic Atlantic, and in the south by the Douro River stretching from Porto almost to the Spanish border in the east. Within those boundaries, there's a remarkable and astonishing diversity and variety of different activities and things to do. From Porto with its culture, the music, whether you're talking classical music, jazz, fado, many other genres as well, theatre, film, international festivals. It's all there within the major metropolitan area of Porto. Just across the river in Vila Nova de Gaia, you've got the port warehouses with the tours and port tasting opportunities in abundance. Dotted throughout northern Portugal, you have small but stunningly historic cities such as Braga and Guimarães, Bragança, and so on. I'll be talking a bit more about Braga a little bit later. In addition to that, you have the Gerês National Park up in the far north of northern Portugal. The only national park in Portugal. All the other parks are described as natural parks rather than being designated a national park. Other plus points in terms of northern Portugal are the friendly and helpful people. I found that myself when I first came to Porto de Varzim and had to obtain the attestado. They changed the rules and you needed 2 Portuguese locals to actually sign that for you. And I was very fortunate that I had 2 very willing volunteers to do that. Other aspects are the infrastructure, very good roads, very good rail, airport, within easy reach on the metro for me. The metro is probably the biggest plus point. There are many spurs to the Porto metro, and I live on the end of one of those lines, about 30 kilometers outside of Porto itself, which gives me very easy access to all the cultural activities of a metropolitan city, and yet living in a small, compact city of Porto de Varzim. So the benefit of both worlds.
He's harsh with the clock, isn't he? Ding,
Oh,
ding.
yeah.
Well, okay, Mark.
Time to turn it off.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. A stampede to Portugal de Vagim, I think, and lots of lovely comments coming in already. So keep those. I'll sum up a little bit with some of the comments that are coming in. Thank you, Paul. As us Southerners of the South, I think we've made the point there that you're in the South, in the Algarve, can show us on a map where your experts are talking about. It's so Algarve-centric, isn't it, to not know this sort of information? So, gentlemen, if you can work that into your magic in the answers to your questions later, to sort of position it more on the map, that will be helpful for the Southerners in the Algarve and certainly to people outside the country. So over to you, Michael Heron, for your 3 minutes, please. What you love about your part of the country.
Very good. Well, thank you for having me. I mean, it would be easy for me to talk about a lot of things. I haven't prepared a script, so I'm going to bring this to you as real as possible. I mean, look, everything else that my esteemed competitors have said is very valid. Beautiful countryside, infrastructure in Porto wine, good transport, all those things. But we have all of that and more in Lisbon. And what I would say is, other parts of Portugal are beautiful to visit, but if you're talking about living somewhere permanently, then Lisbon and the Lisbon region is the place you have to be. It has absolutely everything. We're the capital city, and as Carl teed up nicely for me earlier, Lisbon really is the jewel in the crown of Portugal. What can I say about Lisbon? I've been here for 7 years. To me, it has everything. You can have the cosmopolitan lifestyle in the city if you want, if you're working in the city, or you can have a more relaxed style of living in Cascais or along the coastline, or indeed further across the Tagus River if you decide you want to live further afield in places like Setúbal, Sesimbra. It really is a variety that you can't miss. And I'm just going to sell you a very simple idea, something that I love to do. Imagine it's a Friday evening, you've been working really hard, and you're about to leave work, and you decide, what can I do this evening? Could I go and see a fado show in downtown Lisbon? Could I go for a lovely meal in one of the many international restaurants that exist? Could I go and see the theatre? Could I go to a concert that, as we know, all the international music festivals, the majority of them are based in Lisbon? Or do I just want to go to the beach? We have the most beautiful beaches in Lisbon, and we have the benefit of having wonderful weather all throughout the year. We have the warmth in the summer, but we have that cool breeze from the Atlantic, which they don't get in other parts of the country. So we have a lovely climate all throughout the year, and the beaches here are truly magnificent. So you can literally be working on a Friday evening in the city and be on the beach having a lovely sagres or a glass of wine, or indeed a glass of Porto if that's your thing. But why go all the way to Porto to have that when you could have it in Lisbon and more, and everything else you could possibly desire? We have the two best football teams historically in Portugal, Benfica and Sporting. People from Porto will say different, but I disagree. What else do we have? Well, we have the best geographic location, because we're just 2 hours drive from Porto, 2 hours from the Algarve, and 2 hours from Spain. Nowhere else in Portugal can say that. The international airport will take you everywhere you want to go. And just to finish, I know time is running out, there is a new high-speed rail that we brought in the next 5 years, which will connect Lisbon from Madrid in just 2.5 hours. And that is going to be a game changer for the city, because it's going to bring us closer to that ever-important investment from Spain. So I think I'll leave it at that. But as I said... Okay.
Perfect. Well done. And a few jabs and uppercuts in that mix for sure.
It has to be done. It has to be done.
Cheek for the capital there. So what do we think so far, everybody? This is great. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Michael. So far, we'll ask you some more questions to open it out a little bit more. Neil, says Attila, you should publish it in a book. Alentejo, very impressed by the cut of your poetic jib to start the evening off. First place for poetry already from Paula Dreyfus. And I am an English teacher. Paul, shamelessly Algarvian, says, I think he's just trying to stir you up a bit, Neil. Is Neil a politician or a double glazing salesman? Oh, Paul, honestly. Thanks to Mark from Attila. Cheers to Portugal and Tagus Valley, my mother's hometown, says Anna. All my childhood holidays there. So she has very fond memories of Portugal and Tagus Valley in the north there. What's work? Say Ian and Leslie. Interestingly, sports teams is a different show, different argument in response to you there, Michael, I think, and that a good one, and a win so far to Michael, with all the best of all worlds for Lisbon so far. And Neil did a great job, says Paul. And just finally for the moment, Michael, thanks for the info. The highway is a game changer. So that's where we stand at the moment after round one. So first question then, and we'll just work our way. I'll just change the sequence. We'll go to Mark now for question number one, and a great day out in your part of Portugal, please, Mark.
Okay, I'm going to start in Porto itself and immediately leave it. Walking across the upper level of the Dom Louis I bridge to the other side of the Douro River and Villanova de Gia. Taking the cable car down to the waterfront there to take in all the port warehouses with the various tours and tastings that are available there. Crossing back across the Dom Louis I bridge, this time on the lower level, that will take me to the Ribeira area of Porto and all the multitude of restaurants on the waterfront there. Absolutely stunning place to have a meal and watch the river traffic going up and down and so on.
Beautiful. After all those appetizers in the Porto cellars.
Well, there you go, digestive, as it were. Walking up to the cathedral, then on to the São Bento with the. Now, I find this difficult to pronounce. Alentejo. Is that how you pronounce it? Something like that.
The judge of that.
The blue tiles of
azulejos.
Azulejo.
Yeah.
Azulejos. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Anna.
In the train station there, and also on the outside of many of the churches as well, and so on. There's also those blue tiles forming a wall within Povoa de Varzim, showing the various history of this small city as well. But back to Porto again. Crossing the main square, the Algarve, I can visit a specialist cheese shop, which has not just various cheeses from different areas of mainland Portugal, Azores, France, and so on. Absolutely astonishing variety of quality cheeses readily available, as well as Indian shops for spices, Chinese shops for various Chinese culinary items as well.
Interesting.
But you can also take in the Livraria Lello, the small, perfectly formed bookshop that allegedly forms the basis for some of the Harry Potter backdrops and whatever. Beautiful small bookshop, but there we are. Then going on, taking the metro to Boa Vista.
We have to put a 3-minute limit, otherwise we could be here for a very long time. But that gives us a beautiful sense of a day out in the north and specifically Porto there. Thank you so much, Mark. Let's go to Michael then. We've had your idea of a lovely Friday evening. What's a great day out in your part of the world there?
Okay.
Asia, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Well, we'll assume for argument's sake, this is the summer and this is in a pre-COVID or post-COVID world where we can actually do normal things, right? So as Carl mentioned, I live in São Domingos de Rana, which is very close to Carcavelos, right on the Tagus River. And a typical Saturday when the weather's good that I love to do is I will go with my family in the car towards the 25 de Abril bridge, because we're going to cross over to the river. But before that, I like to stop in Monsanto Park. Now, Monsanto Park is right next to Lisbon, but it's a beautiful natural reserve, which is very unique. And again, very few cities have the pleasure of having this kind of variety very close. You can drive up there and walk around the windy roads, and you honestly feel like you're miles and miles away from Lisbon, but you're right next to the city. So I like to go there, have a walk, have a coffee, pastel de nata in the morning, get ourselves fired up for the day. And then we'll drive across the 25 de Abril bridge, which connects the north and south banks along the Tejo. And we will go to Costa Caparica, which for me is the best beaches next to Lisbon. There are 17 beaches all next to each other. And we go to a beach called Praia da Morena, where there's a lovely restaurant there that serves incredibly fresh fish. And you can sit there all day, sunbathing. The waves are also very big. So if you're a keen surfer, it's not the beach I'd recommend for surfing, but it's a great beach for surfing as well. You can spend all day there. And then before the traffic gets too heavy, I'd advise to come back. So we tend to leave after lunchtime, come back home, have a quick shower. And then if we're lucky, Benfica will be playing that night. So we'll go and watch Benfica at the stadium, have a bifana, which is the typical meat sandwich that you have before the game with a caneca or pint of Sagres. Go and watch the game, come home, job done. That to me is the perfect summer day.
Very good. Beat that. Neil Perkins in the Alentejo for a classic Alentejan day out. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. So, I mean, everybody's day out is different, and everyone's got, well, depends what floats your boat, but there's so many things to do here, especially if you're an outdoors kind of person. However, a day for me, I think I'd really be happy with would be basically heading off after breakfast and driving towards one of the many wine producing quebradas and enjoy a full wine tasting experience. We'll be exploring the vineyards and the old wine cellars, and then having lunch, which would obviously include a carefully selected bottle of wine, while overlooking the stunning views that most of these places are blessed with. And we'll just be sat there thinking about all of those people stuck working their offices in Lisbon. After our lazy lunch, we'll head towards home, maybe stopping at one of the lakes en route, walk off lunch or have a paddle or a quick dip. And then after that, we'd head home. And as it can get rather warm in the Alentejo summer, maybe take the obligatory siesta in the shade of one of the oak trees or the mature olive trees in the garden. Once I'm suitably rested, maybe start to think about preparing food for the evening barbecue with friends and family that are going to be arriving late in the afternoon. Plenty of Alentejo food, traditional porco preto, javali, migas, and all washed down with some of the Alentejo's most amazing wines. As it starts to get dark and you've enjoyed a sundowner whilst watching yet another wondrous Alentejo sunset, which just sets the whole sky alight, we all sit around the glowing embers of the barbecue and we're chatting, and dusk gradually turns to night. I then like to settle down on one of the sunbeds with an ample glass of vintage aguardiente as a warm Alentejo breeze flows up over the plains, bringing those evening scents of jasmine and frangipani. You just stare up into that inky black abyss of the night sky, completely unaffected by light pollution, and just get lost in the billion stars and the Milky Way that stares back down at me. And I think to myself, what a great day.
Wow. Okay, very good. We're causing people problems here, folks. Beautiful, Neil. Thank you so much. Ronald says, I thought I had somewhat of an idea of where I want to base myself when I arrive in June. Now I'm totally confused. Far too many good choices. You're doing a cracking job. Monju says, what's the best food area of Portugal? I think you've touched on it there, but bear that in mind as we go on to the next question, which is the truly unique thing about your area, okay? Because we were hearing some things that are to do with your region and some things that are definitely Portuguese, but the next question is going to be about what's unique. Went to Lisbon in December, says Paul Richards, great city, super bars and restaurants, love the Christmas decorations. So some feedback coming in. Susie wants to know where that cheese shop is, Mark, so we need to let her know that as well. And have you got a police car going off in your front car? Police car lighting you. What is that, Mark? What's going on there?
It's the problem with my laptop. That's why I was late getting here, because I had to reboot. But whatever the issue is hasn't been resolved.
So we don't need to worry about you. You're not about to be carted off or anything like that.
No, not at all.
Okay. Excellent. For being too proud of the North or some bylaw like that. Okay, superb. So uniqueness now. Let's go to that question on uniqueness. Who would we go to for that? We just had? I think we're back with you, Mark, aren't we? Yes, we are.
Okay.
I
think one of the things about northern Portugal is the sheer variety and diversity of activities, all in a very small geographical area. A lot of the other regions have one or two of these things, but the number of these that all come together within an afternoon's drive or half an hour on the metro is really quite astonishing. I've already mentioned the cultural activities of music, theatre, architecture, international festivals, and so on. The port tasting, the Casa de Musica, the 7-story musical complex in Boa Vista, which puts on some remarkable different types of music. The historical cities I've mentioned, the Vino Verde, the cruises up the Douro River. It's a massive river, wide and deep. These cruises go miles and miles inland and whatever. If you're not into rather expensive cruising, then driving, certainly the N222 on the south of the Douro River is considered to be one of the best drives in Europe, if not the world, depending on who you talk to.
So I'm looking for uniqueness here. I mean, and that certainly is it, isn't it? In the north there, that road, a legendary road, I think featured in Top Gear and other motoring programs. That you're not going to get that anywhere else in Portugal, are you? By the sound of it,
it is astonishing. You'll find numerous YouTube videos highlighting just the sheer beauty of driving along that road.
Yes, indeed.
But there we are.
All right,
also the suspension bridge, which is recently opened, the longest pedestrian suspension bridge in the world. It's not just that it's 1,600 feet long, it's also towering above 575 feet above the floor of the valley below. So you need to have a good head for heights.
Again, another unique thing for the area there, unique phenomenon and experience for that area.
And right on your left shoulder is the Barcelos rooster.
Always.
There you go, another thing from the north. I'm in Porto de Varzim, right next door is Villa de Conde, and there's a lovely lace museum there. I mean, I've been there myself, and it is well worth a visit.
Okay, fantastic, Mark. Let's leave it there for now, because we will go a bit further into a bit more detail of your respective regions. But let's hear what's unique then for Michael. You're not going to find anywhere else in Portugal except for your region, Michael.
Yeah, well, if I may, I'd like to talk a bit about the history of the area and the people, because I think it's important. No one's really spoken about the local people of the area, but the Lisboeta is a really unique person, if I can make that slight generalization. I know Lisbon is a cosmopolitan area now, and we're fortunate to have diversity and people from all over the world, and that's something that's really changed in the last few years since I've lived here, and all the more for it. It adds so much value to the area. But the history is fascinating, and obviously this story will be known to some and affects other parts of the country, but is especially relevant to Lisbon because we had an earthquake in the 17th century, which decimated the city, and it brought a tsunami as well. And basically, when you walk around the city, you will see how varied the architecture is. You will see some parts which are very modern because they've had to be effectively rebuilt from scratch. And then a few parts, when you go sort of further down into the Alfama, which have remained intact. What does this tell me about the Lisboeta? Well, it was a tough journey for them because they were used to being one of the richest, most powerful and wealthy countries in the world, and all of a sudden this huge dramatic tragedy happened, which killed a lot of people and affected the region massively. But the Lisboeta was able to rise, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And Marques de Pombal, who was the person, there's a beautiful statue of him in Marques de Pombal in the center of the business district, worth taking a look at. He was largely responsible for not just rebuilding the city, but helping people recover from that tragedy. And for me, one of the beautiful things about the city today is that past is still very present, but it's a very important part of the history which people aren't afraid to talk about, and it makes them all the more endearing and resilient. So for me, I would say the most unique thing about the area I live in are the people, and they are extremely welcoming to outsiders as well. So if you are looking to come from abroad, they will welcome you with open arms, especially if you take a bit of interest in their history. And if you can talk to them about the subject, they will love you for that.
There you go, the unique history of Lisbon. Very nice, little bit of a historical reference there to the earthquake. A little bit of a tremor last week there.
I didn't feel it, to be honest, but there was one about There was definitely one about 4 or 5 years ago, because I remember I was sitting at my desk early in the morning and there was like it was about 6.5, 7 on the Richter scale. Only lasted for a couple of seconds. I haven't felt one recently, maybe, but
Last week. we
last
had
week.
one,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
All
Yeah.
part of the excitement.
Small one,
Yeah,
3 or something.
Don't let that put you
I
off.
was 3. Okay.
Don't let it
We
put
are
you off.
used to big ones. This one
Yeah,
is
3's
like
nothing, right? 3's nothing. It's like
Just all part of the excitement of living in Lisbon. Fantastic. Thank you for that historical heron there. So uniqueness for the Alentejo, please, Neil.
Okay. So many things people don't really know. The Alentejo is unique in the way that it's the largest region in Portugal, and it also produces more wine than any other region in the country. Isn't that enough?
It is. And I thought that was a Douro. So, okay, interesting.
Okay. It also covers 30% of the mainland Portugal, but it's only got 5% of the population. So you're not going to be walking over each other here, that's for certain. It's got Western Europe's largest inland man-made lake, the Algarve Dam, which is 80 odd kilometers long. It's absolutely stunning. And one thing I wasn't really that aware of until probably last year was that it's actually got some of the world's finest and highest quality marble is mined in the Alentejo. In Redondo and Vila Viçosa and Estremoz, that area there's several surface mines. And marble has been mined here going back to Roman times. The Romans and the Arabs both extracted marble from Portugal and shipped it back home, and it was used to decorate the finest mosques and make the finest statues in Roman temples. So that's one thing. And today it's actually shipped around the whole world, fine quality white marble from the Alentejo. The other thing we've got to mention would be cork. Obviously, Portugal as a country produces approximately 50% of the world's cork. Of that 50%, the Alentejo produces 85% of it.
Wow.
And of that 85%, believe it or not, 70% is used in the wine industry. And they produce, wait for it, approximately on average 40 million corks per day.
What?
There we go. And they are used and shipped around the world. So pretty much anyone in the world takes a cork out of a bottle, and the chances are at least 50% that it came from Portugal, from the Alentejo.
Amazing. Okay, I think you're resting your case there, aren't you? With some facts. That's a heavyweight punch there for sure from Neil with those unique. I mean, when I'm saying unique, I'm thinking that each of you is going to deliver one thing about your beloved region. Loads of things from all of the regions there. Beautifully done. A few more comments coming in before we go to the last round of questioning, where you can chuck everything in and just wildly swing with and demonstrate your passion and love for your part of the country before you go into your final summing up of 3 minutes each, and then we'll go to the voting. And I'm going to ask Paul Richards, because I was thinking, if I ask Jerry to officiate on who's the winner of this Alentejo versus Northern Portugal versus Tagus Valley, he's choosing his opponent, so we can't have that. I'm going to ask you, Paul, to do that as the man from the Algarve, who I think will be pretty objective in your Yorkshireman way as well. Good, clean sense of fairness there, Paul. Hope you're all right. Send me a message in the comments if you're happy to do that for us tonight. How clean is the Tagus River? Or Tejo or Tagus? This is something we need to talk about as well, I think. Tejo or Tagus. Anna says, some years ago, our president dived into the water just to prove that's a high-risk strategy. The president dived in to show how clean it was. Around Lisbon, it's clean, especially when the president jumped in. There are many kids diving there, and the ocean is just about there, I guess, churning it up every day. It's clean, says Michael, but wouldn't drink from it. That's a good guide, I think.
But you drink from it, because
anyway,
the water in Lisbon is from Tejo.
I wouldn't take my cup.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Paul is looking forward to coming to and having a wine tasting. Certainly that everybody's mentioned in their own way tonight in Portugal. You will not be disappointed. You might want to weave this into your summing up. Vegan options in those areas from Jen, and a lot of love south for Neil's pros again. I've heard certain areas can be windy. You might want to weave that into this next round, folks. Neil could make Antarctica sound like a tropical paradise, such a skilled orator. That's what you're up against, fellas. Neil is the John Betjeman of the Alentejo. Amazing. He needs a blue plaque on the side of his Alentejo house with that on it as well. Loving the museums, says Roberta. I'm not sure where that is. Forgive me. It's probably Lisbon there. And Jerry says, please don't vote for Neil. I don't fancy taking him on in the finals. Okay. All right. So let's go to this third round of questioning. It's a chance really for you to say 2 or 3 more things about your beloved region. So where do we start again? We start with Mark, don't we? So just a final a few jabs and maybe a punch in the kidneys or two, boasting about your region. Don't knock yourself out here. Knock your opponents out with that, please, Mark.
Okay, I'd like to start off with talking about Braga, a beautiful, small, historic city almost in the center of northern Portugal. There was a European-wide poll that voted Braga as the best European destination for 2021. Now, 72% of the people who voted in that were outside of Portugal. So I think it's a tremendously good commendation for Braga itself and northern Portugal in general. In terms of another place, I want to return to Villanova de Guia as well, and the port tasting. Most people go to the large names, the Sandemans and Crofts and so on. If you're looking for high quality and a once in a lifetime indulgence, I would suggest going to a small building which isn't a warehouse. It's a tasting rooms run by, now I may need some help on pronouncing this as well, Kopka, one of the brands of quality brands of port. You can get very sort of specialist Colheita ports there, which are single vintage tawny ports, absolutely astonishingly lovely to taste, very complex, long finish and all the rest of it. You can drink that sitting in a window, looking over the Douro River to Porto on the other side with the Torre de Clerigoche dominating up in the skyline there. It's a beautiful thing to do. Thirdly, there's the Gerês National Park right up on the northern border with Spain there. As I said, it's the only national park in Portugal. It's got tremendous natural grandeur, mountain peaks stretching 1,300 to 1,500 meters. In English money, that's 4,200 to 4,900 feet. Just soaring mountains and deep valleys with large lakes and rivers passing through. Absolutely astonishing, and all located in this national park area of 700 square kilometers, all within an afternoon's drive of Póvoa de Varzim in northern Portugal.
Well chosen, Mark. Thank you so much for that. So final round, certainly of questions before you're summing up. Michael, what else do you want to say about, can you open this with, what is it about Tagus Tejo and this thing? Which is it? How should we refer to it?
Oh yeah, so this is interesting, right? So you've got, in English we say the Tagus. Yeah. And in Portuguese it's the Tejo. But then the Spanish say the Tajo. So you have to just be aware that there's different ways of describing it. So you can say the Tagus, or the Tejo is the Portuguese say it.
Yeah. Tejo.
Tejo. Okay, take it away.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say really. I mean, maybe I should talk a bit about my area, São Domingos de Rana. If anyone interested in moving to Portugal, I think it offers a very interesting compromise between maybe not wanting to live in Lisbon city and perhaps not wanting to live as far as Cascais on the coast. Both areas can be quite expensive nowadays, but São Domingos de Rana sort of sits in the middle there, and it's still a very affordable place to rent and to buy, to live even. Around that area, you've got São Domingos de Rana, Parede, and Carcavelos. But again, Carcavelos, because it's right on the coast, is a little bit expensive. But not wanting to turn this into a real estate pitch, I would say that São Domingos de Rana, where I live, is kind of ideal because it's still affordable, yet you get the best of both worlds, where you're close to city living, but you're also very close to the beaches as well, and the coastline. Sorry. But maybe I can talk a little bit about Setúbal, if I can include that within the area. I think I can just about get away with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Often overlooked. I mean, it's a bit of a drive. It's about 45 minutes from Lisbon on a good day. The Portuguese will probably take 30, if I can say that affectionately. For those in the know will understand what I mean by that. It's actually where, for those of you that like football, it's where Jose Mourinho is from originally. And he was recently interviewed about it. In fact, the BBC did a whole interview where he took them around Setúbal. And you see a lot of the old people there refer to him as Zé. And he says, I love coming here because everyone calls me Zé. And here I'm not Jose Mourinho, I'm not this big superstar, I'm just Zé. They remember me from when I was a kid. So you get a real sense of community there, that everyone, just looks after their own, but it doesn't matter who you are or how big you may have got for your boots, they will drag you back down and remind you of that little boy you were when you're growing up there. But Setúbal is a beautiful fishing town. You get some of the best fresh fish in the world, in my opinion. You can also take the ferry and go across a bit further to some of the best beaches in the world, where historically, in Comporta, which historically some of the royal families from all over Europe, for those of you that aren't Republicans like me, will love to know that the glitterati of society go to some of these places. So you really get an idea of how fantastic it is. So you can have a lovely day in Setúbal, having some fish, and if you want something a bit posher, then you can get on the ferry and go to Comporta. I would say that's a part of the Tagus which is often overlooked. And again, another great reason to live in that part of the world, because you've got all of this within a 30-minute drive.
Isn't Comport in the Alentejo?
Oh, he's claiming.
Yes.
He's claiming.
Yes, Neil.
It's getting off now.
That was good. That was good.
Go on,
and I have to say, Setúbal is in Alentejo as well.
Is it? Border, isn't it?
Oh, I've scored an own goal.
It's after River Tejo.
Yeah.
It's
there we go.
south
Well, there you go.
yeah.
Neil, I've given you some help there.
It's a bit of a gift. He let his guard down for a moment there, and Neil was in. Neil was straight.
But it's considered Lisbon area, so it's like a little bit apart from Alentejo, but in really words, it's Alentejo.
Yeah, well, it's a nice area. The bridges is.
Yeah.
It's a very nice area.
Yeah.
I agree with him. It's a beautiful area.
Now, I have to say, to be fair to Michael here, the regions and districts of Portugal are a complete nightmare. So on the one hand, you think you're home and dry because you're part of metropolitan Lisbon, and then Neil comes along and says, "Oh no."
Yeah. Comporta is the only part of Alentejo I would bother to visit. The rest of it, forget it. Come to Lisbon. But if you live in Lisbon, you can just get a quick boat journey across there, spend the day, and then come back and enjoy everything else that we have to offer there. But no, it's a great part of the country as well. And look, this is so subjective. This is why I love this format, because everyone gets to see people passionate about where they live, selling their area, which is fantastic. So, and the same for the north as well.
And we've utterly confused people tonight. Our best intention is to help people.
Yeah.
And it's typically Portuguese, isn't it? That thing where you go, I'm going to visit here. This is where I want to live. Next week, somewhere else. This is where I want to live. Spoilt for choice. That is the problem. It's not that you're going to struggle to find somewhere beautiful. It's making the decision that's difficult. So sorry to do that to you folks. We've still got Neil to chip in with a few final punches, and he's already started.
From when I read the brief, it actually said question 3 is places that must be visited when in the Alentejo. So I've just made a couple of notes. I read it as question 3 places. So 3 places.
He's having a go at the referee as well now. He's so keen, this man.
So I'll start off with some place that in the Alentejo you really have to go, and that's Reguengos de Monserrate. This is an absolute must. I've been there several times, and in my years, I've done a fair bit of traveling. And in my view, that village perched on the highest hill in the area, overlooking the plains and the underwater waterways of the Algarve Dam, is literally breathtaking. It is absolutely beautiful. There's one place you can visit in the Alentejo. You must go there. I just keep going back. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. The second I would say is Évora, lovely known as the capital of the Alentejo. And this inside the walled city of Évora itself, it's just wonderful. It's kilometre after kilometre after kilometre of tiny cobble streets. It's full of history and charm, restaurants, and surprises around every corner. It takes you back in time. It's got Roman temples, got Gothic cathedrals, got medieval aqueduct, the Chapel of Bones, just to name a few. It's absolutely stunning. It really is. And my last choice would be Elvas. You've got to go there. If you go to the east, heading towards the Spanish border, in there you've got the Fort de Nossa Senhora de Graça, which is absolutely unique fortification shaped in a star, the shape of a star. The battlements and the fortifications are absolutely amazing. And aerial photography, you really need to look at it to see that. That is stunning, and one of very, very few in the world like that. It's then got after that you've got the Castelo de Elvas, and then you have to go to the 4-story high Amoreira aqueduct. You can drive underneath it and drive through it, and as you drive up to it, it's just an absolute wonder of construction. It really is. It's something that I just takes my breath away. So there are 3 places, if you come here, you really need to go and see. Absolutely stunning, and they're just a few. The Alentejo is just so vast. There's so much to see here. It really is beautiful.
Thank you, Neil. Is Elvas quite busy when you go there?
The last time we went there, probably must be nearly a year ago now. It was really before we started this lockdown, and it wasn't massively busy, but we had some great restaurants. We had some great food while we were there, and the area itself.
So, but it is safe to say that Elvas isn't dead.
Elvis definitely isn't dead. In fact, he was in the building.
Thank you very much. That's all I was looking for. Brilliant. You guys have been amazing. You've still got your summing up to do. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. You might want to weave in a vegan reference. You might want to weave something in about the climate. There have been some slight references, but you might want to go deeper into that to win the crowd over and play to the crowd a little bit. I live a mile away from the Spurs training ground, says Ian. As always, Jose, or Zay, as you referred to him, and the old folks of his town refer to him, generates mixed reactions. He always will. The special one. Jerry, I would be afraid of Michael in the finals too, says Lynn. Yes, definitely wanting to hear a bit more about the weather in your summing up, gentlemen, if it doesn't take you too far off script. Jerry's not too worried. I have a few secrets up my sleeve in the final, like cutting off their sound. Jerry, I think Astrid will be back to take care of that. We can't allow that sort of foul play. If it weren't for the heat, Neil, you would win my vote, but alas, too hot for me. You might want to address that. Jeff loves a good castle. You might want to stick in a few castle-based punches as well in this last 3 minutes of summing up. So let's do that. Let's go to Mark for his 3 minutes, please. Finally, before we go to the voting on the north of Portugal, please, Mark.
Okay, there's 2 key things about where I live in Porto de Varzim in northern Portugal. I've mentioned some of this before. The diversity of activities that are possible, all within an afternoon's drive. You can have an afternoon out and visit a historic city, take in the most remarkable medieval architecture, go up to the Jerish National Park, enjoy stunning vistas of tall mountains and deep valleys, or drive along the Douro Valley, along the river there, all within an afternoon's drive. Alternatively, you can take the metro to Porto, obtain things that are virtually almost impossible to get elsewhere in Portugal, apart from perhaps Lisbon. Go and visit the Cafe Majestic. It's been described as probably the finest cafe in the world. Take in a concert, have a meal, fado and messa, sort of fado, music and a dinner at the same time. Drink the Vino Verde, the local white wine, which is really very light and very easy to drink. Yes. Finish off with a good port. take the last metro back to Portugal de Varzim that leaves after midnight, get back around about 1 o'clock. No driving involved. You can have a drink, no problem. What's not to like?
That sounds amazing. There's an enlightened country that likes to enjoy itself, that leaves public transport, towards the midnight hour there. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark. Did you want to say anything else?
There are some good things about Lisbon, but it did sound a little bit like a Conservative Party political broadcast at times.
Oh, that's a dig. There's a bit of a kidney punch there. My goodness. Right. Okay. Destabilizing the opponent at the last minute there. Let's go straight to you then, Michael, to respond to that. Your 3 minutes, please.
Yeah. Well, if I can adapt a famous quote, when a man is tired of Lisbon, he's tired of life. And I think that sums it up perfectly. Look, I'm not going to lie. Portugal is a beautiful country, and I've had the pleasure of calling it my home for the last 7 years. I've visited all the parts of the country and more that we've been discussing today. But for me, Lisbon really is the number one choice for everyone. And people are talking about the weather. We have the most consistent weather in the country. It's lovely and warm in the summer, but not too hot like the Algarve or the Alentejo, which can be brutally hot. And it's not freezing cold like it is in the north, which Carl will attest to as well. When he discovered that when he left Adewaida, I don't know why he did that.
All right.
He's feeling that now. But I would say that if you want the true Portugal experience, then you will get everything in Lisbon and the surrounding areas. You'll get absolutely everything. And not to mention all the different things you can do in terms of restaurants, social activity, all the best music festivals in Portugal here, all the biggest music bands in the world come here, all the best nights out are here. Everything is happening here, really. Everything that happens in other parts of the country is great, but this is the place you want to be. And I've got nothing else to say. I don't know what else I can say, really, but I would say that Lisbon, number one.
Slam dunk, case closed. Okay, what do you do with that, Neil? Mr. Perkins, to you finally, before we
go. I have to say, I'll start off with a wise man told me once, a very wise man said that when a man is tired of Lisbon, he moves to the Alentejo. As I mentioned, Portugal. As I mentioned, Alentejo is the largest region in Portugal, and hence it is so large. It's had to be split into two. So you've got the you've got the Baixo Alentejo, which is the lower half, and you've got Alto Alentejo, which is top half, and they're split in the middle in between Beja and Évora through a town called Alvita, which is exactly where we're living at the moment. It consists mostly of open plains, cork and olive trees, and wherever you are, you look in the distance, you'll see a fortified town on a hill built to defend them against the ever invading Spanish of the past. So lots of fortifications, lots of historic towns with castles and towers. In fact, Beja has got the largest fortified tower in Portugal, and it's the second largest of its type in the whole of Europe, and that is the spectacular views from Beja as well. I'll concentrate mostly on the city and the district of Évora, because that's where we spend most of our time and where we're going to be living. It's the most populated city in the region, and it's known as the capital of the region. Although whether it's officially a capital or not, I really don't know. It's the walled city of Évora. Aqueduct is truly spectacular. It's located only an hour's drive from the Spanish border, if you want to go in Spain. It's 1 hour and 15 from Lisbon, which is absolutely nothing. Hence why most of the Lisbonites come to the Alentejo for weekends and have holiday homes here, which is a fact. Or you can just, in an hour, you can be in Lisbon if you want that cosmopolitan lifestyle for a weekend, and then come back here. You've got the west coast of Comport in an hour and 15 minutes. And if you want the warmer waters of the Algarve, you can be strutting your stuff on those southern shores in just over 2 hours. Closer to home in Évora itself, there are so many restaurants, bars, there's local events held all the time, large weekly markets. And then outside of the walled city, you've actually got then the new Évora, And this is where you've got the shopping malls, the vehicle dealerships, large DIY stores, the gyms, the cinemas, bowling alleys, you name it, it's got everything. It's got lakes everywhere. Within 10, 15 minutes, I could be at 3 lakes where you can go fishing, swimming, kayaking, walking. Within 20 minutes, we're at Algarve. Algarve has got marinas.
There goes Jerry's bell. That's Jerry's bell telling you that your 3 minutes is up on your summit. You just got started, didn't you, really?
That wasn't 3 minutes.
That was slightly more than 3 minutes.
I think you need to check your clock.
Obviously,
he's worried.
You have a problem telling the
worried.
time in
He's cutting me off at my knees because he's worried.
I just had lakes. That's all I had.
Exactly. That didn't take 3 minutes, did it? I agree with you, Michael.
Didn't mention booze in that one, though.
A bit of to end the competition there, gentlemen. You should be proud of yourselves. You have confused everybody because, as ever, we have shown that there are so many beautiful places. I live in all of the places you've described and the way you've described them. So fantastic job tonight. But it's down to the people here this evening to go crazy with the jazz hands. Let me see. I'm going to go to a gallery view here, but thank you, the 3 of you. Let me just sum up a little bit. With Neil there's a kind of modesty, there's a proud modesty of largely rural Alentejo with this occasional poetic outburst of boldness. And we're not having anything taken away from us in the Alentejo, as you could see in Neil's spirit there at the end of the bout. If we go to the north, Portugal is very understated anyway, but particularly in the north, there is an understated nobility that I think you could see from what Mark was saying. He demonstrates that and illustrates that very well with the north. And then the Lisboetas, of course, proud and bold and in your face. That's what it's all about when you're in the capital city. But so much to commend each of the 3 places. You did a fantastic job. And I really thank you on behalf of expatsportugal.com and the people who are here tonight and the people who are going to subsequently see this on our YouTube channel. So let's do a bit of voting and let the people decide. I'm going to a gallery view. Is Paul here? Can we unmute Paul? So that Paul can help us with this moment of, as we go through each of the areas, and I'll do them alphabetically, I want to see reactions on the screen. Paul, are you going to help me with this and pick a winner?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to pick a winner because all the guys have done a fantastic job of where they live.
Anna, would you pick a winner?
No, what I will say is this, is that one thing that's never been mentioned tonight, wherever you live are the Portuguese people.
Yes.
And they are so kind, so generous, and so helpful. And it doesn't matter if you're abroad and you're coming to Portugal to live, which a lot of people on this screen are going to do, I hope. You will be made friendly, you will be welcome, you will feel at ease like no other country.
Well said,
sir. For me, the personal choice, because I've been there, I've not been to the other 2 places, would probably be Lisbon. Okay. But it's just because it's a wonderful city. And when I was there, it was December. It was all happening. It was fantastic. But I like the wine that Neil's talking about. That sounds great to me.
This is why you won't make a decision. And then I dare say there's something beautiful as Jerez National Park or the port up in the Porto area that you love as well. Mm-hmm. Anna, will you help me make a decision?
Yeah, I can help.
Okay. So now's the moment, everybody.
You can do the dream of every Portuguese. You can have 3 houses. One in Lisbon.
Yes.
One in Alentejo and one in north. When it's winter, you go to Alentejo. When it's summer, you go to north. And whenever you want to be cosmopolitan and leave the city, you go to Lisbon.
Well said, Anna, but you will help.
Sounds like a plan.
You will help.
But I truly love the north because my mother's family is from Povo de Varzim, actually. So all my childhood, I was there. I have a lot of family there. It is truly a beautiful, beautiful place. And for me, I think the Portuguese people from the north are more genuine and more real people, down to earth. Than the persons in the south. And I'm a Portuguese and I was born in Lisbon. So, but I have to say the north people are more truly Portuguese.
But the Alentejo people are known as the beautiful people, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Alentejo people, they're known
in
as the beautiful people of
and
Portugal.
they are known as, if you go there, you have to enter their houses and eat with them in their houses.
Without a doubt,
it's
they are so generous.
hospitality. Yeah.
I mean, most Portuguese people are, to be fair.
Yeah.
Unless you go to some of the big cities and you get pickpocketed and offered drugs and that.
And Alentejo,
But apart from that,
it's
your car gets stolen.
All right.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stop it with the niceness now. We need
Yeah.
a.
The extra time here, Carl. I'm not happy about that.
That's right. Somebody needs to face Jerry in the final. Okay, so Central Portugal. Yes, Anna. Central Portugal went through from the semis. We need a contender against Jerry in the ring in a few weeks' time. So, Anna, are you going to help me decide? Despite saying we should have 3 houses and singing the praises of all of those areas, will you help me decide on a winner tonight?
I have to say.
No. What I want you to do, I think I know what your personal opinion is, but we want our crowd to go crazy. And I want you to tell me which.
Just to check the crowd, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
An adjudicator. You're very welcome after that.
Yeah, I have to say, I only see the first 20 or something. I don't know, but I will look to all of them. Okay, I'll try. Yeah.
Then press the arrows going
Okay.
backwards and forwards. So we need people to get quite energetic now.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you in alphabetical order to go crazy. If you think Alentejo is the winner tonight, do it now, please, and keep it going. Let's have a look. Jerry's voting for Alentejo. Are you seeing this? Have you had enough of that, Anna? Have you?
Come on. Jen, you'd love it. You really would.
He's working the crowd individually now.
Come on.
Not,
Lydia, where's your hands?
not winning.
Hands, Lydia. Let me see them.
All right. I think we've got an indication there on the jazzometer, the jazz handometer there, and hands going up and all sorts, and the emoticons and everything. So let's go now to Mark Rigby's representation of the north of Portugal. Please go crazy now if you love the north. Look at that. What do we think, Anna? Is it neck and neck?
There's only 4
it's
people.
Hard. It's hard.
It's hard, but Anna's word is final. Keep it going, guys, if you want to vote for the north. Okay, all right. Thank you, Simon. And finally then, go crazy if you think Michael has it with the Tagus Valley in Lisbon. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to the second screen and it's not happening on the second screen. I'm going to put you in a very awkward position.
There are 3 people on the second screen, Carl.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Keep it going for Lisbon for a moment so we can measure the votes, such as it is. Okay, okay, you can stop there now. We have had tonight Alentejo, Northern Portugal, and the Tagus Valley, the Tejo Valley. It is now Anna's decision to decide which reaction was best for which area to go ahead now and fight Jerry for Central Portugal for the crown of the best place to live in Portugal. Anna, who has it tonight?
I have to say Lisbon.
Oh, it's an upset! But I'm the referee. I'm just the referee.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you, everyone. But I really enjoyed everyone else's pitch, and I'll definitely be visiting Alentejo and Porto more often after that. So thank you for that.
I'm not accepting it. I want to recount.
Yeah.
It's fake news. I want to recount.
It's been recorded.
Was there any postal votes? Did we have the postal votes in there?
They're still coming in. Oh no, let's not go there.
For me, all
We
of
don't
the
allow
3
postal
regions.
votes. They can be fraudulent.
How do you feel, Jerry, facing Lisbon in the final?
I'm sort of divided because I love Lisbon, but I love it as a place to visit, not a place to live.
He's already started.
You already started. It's dirty.
I've toured around the north, and I love the culture and the history and the scenery of the north, but a little bit too cold for my liking. And actually, if I had to leave Central, I think Alentejo might be the area that I would choose to live. Yeah. And I think tonight, for me, Neil has sort of reinforced that. So I have to learn. I've been to a few places in the Alentejo, but not enough, clearly.
To be fair, Jerry, I lived in Central Portugal. I had a house there for 12 years, and I absolutely loved it. But we nearly got burnt out 3 times. The last time, literally, we were singed, smoke damage, and about £20,000 worth of damage. So it was a case of every year, we were just thinking, is this going to be the year? Is this going to be the year? and no fires in the Alentejo, so completely safe. So, and to be fair, the temperature, everyone says that the Alentejo is the hottest part. It's not. Tamar, the temperature in Tamar is the same as the Alentejo, exactly the same. In fact, probably 1 or 2 degrees warmer in the evening than the Alentejo, because the open plains, the temperature can drop, but only sort of at 5 in the morning. The evenings, the temperatures are beautiful and warm in the summer.
Yeah, well, ask Carl about the winter in Tamar.
Look, enough. Okay.
Well, no, I think though, Tamar's behind me here, and I think Carl, we had lunch sometime last year in a restaurant down the road over the bridge here behind me.
Yes, indeed.
And I think it was 42 degrees when we came out.
Yeah, Tamar's pretty much the same temperature in summer.
Very hot.
Very hot.
Really, really hot.
Because it's surrounded by the hill, so it's got like its own little sort of climate. It has their microclimate. No, it's beautiful. I love the Tamar area. We really did. Bit upset about leaving, but it was just too much with the fires.
Neil, you've done the Alentejo proud tonight.
Yeah.
That's what's been so interesting.
Cheers to Alentejo.
Lisbon speaks for itself, doesn't it? Portugal speaks for itself in so many ways, winning so many awards. People know Lisbon, and job done in many ways in attracting people to Lisbon. But it's been brilliant how Mark and Neil have represented these understated and underestimated parts of Portugal tonight. So special shout out to the runners up here, Neil and Mark. You have done a beautiful job in sharing many of the glories and wonders of both the North and the Alentejo this evening. So thank you, all 3 men. Michael victorious and going through to face Jerry in the final, and we're getting a lot of love from our audience here. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Obrigada from Sandra tonight. Excellent job by all the contenders tonight from Kent. Dropped Chads. I don't know what that means, but I like the sound of it. I think they all sound wonderful. That's the summary really tonight, isn't it? From Jen. They all sound wonderful. That is absolutely true. So great job tonight.
I can say that as a Portuguese, I feel very honored with all the words that you say about the 3 regions. And it's really lovely to hear all that you feel when you are on our country. It's really, really a lovely feeling. Yeah. Thank you, the 3 of you. Lovely. And I love the 3 areas. Well, I love all the country, but I have really, really good feelings about the 3 areas. So
that's beautiful.
I love Lisbon, Michael. Absolutely love it. We go there as often as we can. But
one of the best things,
and Porto as well. We love it.
I was only doing it for the banter, right? Because it's really hard for me to criticize other parts of the country, because I love the whole of Portugal.
Exactly. And that was my opening statement, was the whole country is
and
just.
You can imagine that one of the best things about Portugal is that it's a small country, so you can be in the morning in one region, in the afternoon in the other.
And that's so true, especially anyone from the US. That's something that maybe is harder to imagine. But imagine the smallest state in the US, you wouldn't be able to drive across it in 5 hours. In
Great roads, easy to go from north to south. You don't need to travel for 1 day or 2. You just 2 hours. You are from 2 hours from anything most of the time. So
you could
taking your point there, Michael. I think Portugal is the same size as the state of Idaho.
Oh, there you go. That's good to know. I was trying to think of a comparison. There you go. Yeah. No, that's really nice.
Neil,
it's saying you could actually be, say, for instance, if you took February, you could quite possibly easily be skiing in Serra de Estrela.
Yeah.
And a 4-hour drive later, you could actually be having a barbecue in the Alentejo.
Yeah.
Literally. We were barbecuing you saw the photograph, shorts in February, barbecuing. So you literally could be skiing and barbecuing on the same day.
I live in Cascais.
And possibly have lunch in Spain on the way.
No, do not eat in Spain. Eat in Portugal.
Thanks, everybody. We'll draw a line under the battle there, as it were. We look forward to the final, and thanks for all your comments that are coming in.